Are you tired of working hard and getting nowhere while watching others who contribute next to nothing get fabulously wealthy? Well, then stop whatever you're doing. I'm about to tell you 5 easy tricks that will allow you to get fabulously rich in today's liberal economy while contributing less than everyone else. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're skeptical that in today's modern, progressive, altruistic, state-controlled era, there is no such thing as greed and profit anymore. Let me quote the liberal luminary Mark Carney, who recently said, "The state embodies collective ideals such as equality of opportunity, liberty, fairness, solidarity, and sustainability." So in this collective state, of course there's no greed, and of course no one wants to get rich, and no one can. Except for these 5 tricks that I'm about to tell you. So tune in and listen up carefully. Quick trick number 1. Apply for a grant claiming you're going to use it to pay workers, when in fact you use it to fund your CEO bonuses, dividends, and share buybacks. The Air Canada, for example, used this trick to pay $10 million to its executives. And if I can quote the Globe and Mail about the wage subsidy. Remember the wage subsidy was supposed to be for companies that were so poor they can't pay their wages? Well, here's what the Globe and Mail said about that. In some cases, companies still laid off workers, increased shareholder dividends, and doled out bonuses despite collecting hundreds of millions of dollars in government money. In the wealth management sector, the Globe found at least 80 asset managers, including some of the top performing hedge funds of 2020, received the subsidy. End quote. The rich are always very good at getting money. In fact, remember all those cash payments that were supposed to be for families in needs? Well, the top fifth of households got on average $6,700. The poorest households got $4,000. So the rich got almost 2/3 more than the poor, even though the poor are the ones that lost their jobs. So be rich and apply for government money and use your connections and your consultants and accountants to maximize your take. That's trick number 1. Trick number 2, offer the Prime Minister's cabinet and family fees, expenses, and luxurious trips. For example, the Kielburger brothers gave vacations, expenses, and fees to the Prime Minister's team about $500,000. For that, they got a $500 million grant. And then the Aga Khan gave the Prime Minister a $250,000 vacation, and he got a $15 million grant. These are the kinds of returns on investment that would make Warren Buffett blush. But pro tip, you must have connections in the RCMP because, of course, much of this is illegal and even criminal, and you might get charged if you do not have friends in law enforcement. Get quick rich trick number 3. When central banks are throwing money out the window, stand next to the window. That's what the financial institutions have been doing. As the bank has created $300 billion, and they've used it to buy government debt. This is debt that the government sold to the banks on a Monday, and the Bank of Canada buys back from them on a Tuesday, only at a higher price and at a profit to the financial institution. Not only that, the trick here is to own a mansion, gold, land, stocks, or bonds, all of which will be inflated in value, increasing your net worth. This trick worked for Canada's 20 wealthiest Canadians, who in the first 6 months of this money printing scheme saw their net worth rise by a staggering 32%, while our waitresses, airline stewardesses, and small businesses got clobbered and $100 billion vanished from our economy. Somehow, the very rich, with all their assets, managed to get richer still. So the lesson is, next time the government is printing money, start off by being rich, because then you can be richer still. When the Bank of Canada is printing money and throwing it out the window, stand next to the window. Get rich quick trick number 4. Get into one of the fastest growing industries in Canada. Yes, the economy is collapsing, but there are 2 industries that are on fire. I'm going to tell you about the first one here. Become a consultant for the government. Now, since this Prime Minister took office, the federal government consulting budget has grown from 8 billion to 16 billion. And for those liberals over there who are missing their calculators, that is a 100% increase. You could get in on some of that cash. Imagine, this is the kind of job you can do these days, working from your living room, in your pajamas, on Zoom, consulting, writing, for example, presentations that nobody ever sees, making up buzzwords that nobody even understands, doing PowerPoint presentations that no one will ever look at. 100% growth. You could get in on some of that $16 billion too. Get rich quick trick number 5. This is the fastest growing industry in Canada. In fact, faster than the consultants. And this industry is lobbying. Lobbying in Canada went from, under the previous Harper government, there were 9,300 lobbying interactions in 2015. Last year, 28,000. A 200% increase in paid lobbying interactions. What is a lobbyist? Well, you've heard of stockbrokers, real estate brokers, insurance brokers. A lobbyist is a power broker. For the most part, it's someone who helps, you can hire, you can pay them and turn your money into power, and that power into even more money. You want a loan, a grant, a handout, a regulatory protection, or some other political favor to get you rich? Hire a lobbyist. And this industry is on fire for a very specific reason. Why? Because it is a product of government. The bigger the government gets, the more lobbyists you need. And so as government has almost doubled in size over the last 5 years, so too has the lobbying industry grown. Why? Because business wants a return on investment. And if there's money in software, well, they invest in technology. Money in copper, they invest in mining. Money in government, they invest in lobbying. If you look at the correlation between lobbying and government spending, it's almost a perfect match, not just here, but also in the United States, whereas the government in Washington grows as the share of the GDP, so too does the amount corporations spend on lobbying that government. They go where the money is, Madam Speaker, and you should too. That's why I'm letting you in on these 5 secret tricks. And I'm not asking for anything in return, except from time to time you might be able to let me speak a little bit more than otherwise will be allowed. But that's a small price to pay for the kind of big money you're going to be making with these 5 easy tricks that I'm sharing with you here and now. How does any of this make sense, though? We were told by Mark Carney that greed would be gone. You just needed to replace that nasty free market economy that's motivated only by self-interest with the altruistic power of the state. Well, what in fact is the state? The state is just legalized force. It's the only entity that can apply force. And what would you think that someone who is greedy and self-interested would be less greedy and self-interested if they were acting through a creature that operates by power and force? Really? These socialists have been trying to teach us for all these years that if you expand the power of the state, all of a sudden you're going to bring out altruism, that the weak and the poor are going to be advantaged. In what relationship of force have the weak and poor ever been advantaged? Of course, the weak and poor are disadvantaged, and the powerful and strong get ahead when force is applied. And we know that the same base instincts will exist when the state gets big. As Macaulay wrote, wherever you fling the honey, the buzzing flies will crowd. Wherever you throw the carrion, the raven's croak is loud. Wherever downriver the garbage floats, the greedy pike you see. And wheresoever such lord is found, such client soon will be. I notice how he used flies and honey, not bees and honey. Why? Because flies don't make honey. They consume it without producing it. They are the same parasitical creatures that those who get rich off the state are. They don't produce anything. They don't contribute anything. They take without making. If they were bees, they would be contributing. And in a free market economy, it's sort of like bees, right? They pollinate, cross-pollinate, an aspect of trade and exchange that you see between a customer and a small business, between a worker and an employer, between an investor and a entrepreneur. That voluntary exchange is coming back, and that's why my 5 tricks are a limited time offer. Soon this state-run economy will be eliminated and replaced with a free enterprise system where everyone will go back to getting ahead by helping others and by improving their country, by engaging the voluntary exchange of work for wages, product for payment, and investment for interest, the system that makes everybody better off, the system where you have to be truly empathetic Because as an entrepreneur, you cannot improve your own lot unless you sell something to somebody that they want to buy. In other words, unless you make someone else's life better off. That is the way you will get rich in the future. But for the time being, you have my 5 quick tricks for getting rich.